In today's gospel text, taken from Mark chapter 9, verses 41 to 50, Jesus uses very frightening metaphors in the context of causing scandal, in the context of being a stumbling block to others. Jesus is addressing his own disciples, and in the whole incident, he uses the singular. And that is why each one of us must regard these words of Jesus as having been spoken to us. What exactly does it mean to be a cause of scandal? Jesus is telling us that if through our words and our actions we do not edify, we really are not true disciples. The true disciple is a disciple who lives from within. And because that disciple lives from within, the words of that disciple and the actions of that disciple are enhancing, are words which boost up, are words which build up rather than words and actions which pull down. So Jesus is saying, if the larger majority of your words and actions are to depress people, to frustrate them, to malign their name, to gossip about them, it means that you are really the cause of scandal. You are a stumbling block. He mentions the hand, he mentions the foot, which must be cut off and thrown away if it is a cause of scandal. He mentions the eye, which must be plucked out if it is a cause of scandal. And this text frightens us. But what ought to frighten us even more is the fact that we, even though we profess through our lips to be disciples of Jesus, we are scandalous in our words and our actions to others who are disciples. All too often, a person leaves the discipleship of Jesus, stops being a disciple because he or she sees that the disciples of Jesus are really not living as they ought to. It is sure that the person who makes his or her commitment to Jesus must make it from within. But it is also true that that person is living in society, is living in community, is living among other disciples. So if as an individual and then as a group in the church, we are unable to provide inspiration, rather we provide scandal to others, then we cannot be true disciples. Jesus ends this pericope with these words: salt is good, but if salt has lost its saltiness, how can you season it? Often, this metaphor, salt, has been understood as a simile. Salt is used as a preservative. Salt is used in cooking. Salt is used in sacrifice. Salt is used to add taste to the food. But those are the functions of salt. What Jesus says here is have salt in yourselves, and he focuses on salt losing its saltiness, which means he uses salt here not as a simile, be like salt, no, but have salt, which means the main ingredient or the main function of salt or the intrinsic quality of salt is saltiness. The intrinsic quality of a disciple of Jesus is to be light. The intrinsic quality of a disciple of Jesus is to enhance and to build up and not to cause scandal. This is how this metaphor must be understood. So if a disciple of Jesus is causing scandal instead of edifying and inspiring, that person does not have salt in him or herself. That person is not salty. The saltiness has disappeared from that person's life, and so it is good for nothing except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. it is sure that when we read texts like these, we may get frightened. They frighten us. And yet, Jesus' intention is not to frighten us, but to wake us up to what true discipleship means. Jesus has promised us the kingdom of God, but he has not promised the kingdom of God without living challenging lives. If Jesus were to ask, if you had salt in yourself, what would your answer